All right, this just in. Florida child groomer blames the Don't Say Gay bill for being fired after she discussed her sexual proclivities with minor students and had them draw gay pride flags. So, here we go. A Florida middle school teacher was fired last month after a discussion with her students in which she revealed she was pansexual. Now, I've done a lot of coaching for juniors, for minors, high school age kids. This kind of conversation has never come up. And you know why it hasn't come up? Because it's just inappropriate in the situation in which you're in. So, and that is an adult dealing with minors. That's something that if they happen to be like asking about it and they don't, but if they happen to, you just say none of your freaking business and how dare you ask that question. Now, get back to whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. So, Casey Scott encouraged her art students to express themselves through flags, with some drawing the rainbow gay pride flag and others choosing the light blue, pink, and white stripes of the transgender flag. So I'm sure it was just encouragement. I'm sure it was absolutely just encouragement rather than the subtle effect of her position of power in that classroom and her sort of any suggestion from her that, oh, maybe you'd like to, draw yourself a gay pride flag or something. Of course, the student is then going to do that because they're going to say, oh, if I don't, then my mark is going to suffer. I'm going to be on the bad side of this teacher. So the vast majority of students will just say, okay, great. I know what I'm supposed to draw now. Okay. And others choosing the light blue, pink, and white stripes of the transgender flag. Scott said she was fired from Trafalgar Middle School in Cape Coral, 100 miles south of Tampa, for conducting the discussion. She should not be conducting any such discussion. It's not the place, it's not the time. So when it says after a discussion with her students, she was fired after a discussion with her students in which she revealed she was pansexual. As I said at the beginning, the headline is wrong. And this should read: a Florida middle school teacher was fired last month after discussing intimate sexual proclivities with her minor students instead of doing classroom work and told them about her personal perversions. She then encouraged them to uh, express similar beliefs and similar feelings about how they must feel. So that's how this stuff should read. Okay, because this is freaking ridiculous. The school says it was because she strayed from the curriculum. I would say so. If she's doing these discussions during class, I'm guessing that's not part of the classroom curriculum. That seems very, very obvious to me. The firing comes at a time of intense debate in Florida following Governor Ron DeSantis signing on March 28th the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. So the so-called, who is calling it that? Well, people on a particular ideology are calling it that. That's not at all what it's called, which bans discussions of sexuality or gender identity in K to 3 classrooms, which for me is a given. It should be much, much higher. After third grade, by law, the conversations need to be age appropriate. I still think this is ridiculous because, again, age appropriate is dependent upon the person. Some people figure that it's age appropriate to give their children alcohol at 15 or 16, and some people feel that it's never appropriate to give children alcohol and that they feel their grown children should not be drinking alcohol. So, age appropriate is far too indefinite to be a statement of law. Joe Biden has described the bill as hateful. Yes, it is a hateful, hateful act, in so much to Joe Biden that parents would be given say over what is taught to and discussed with their children while they are under the care of the state. Because Joe Biden feels that it is the right, and most of the people on the left feel it is their right to do what they wish with your children. So it was damaging to young people's mental health. It's very interesting that when I was young and growing up in school, we didn't have all these counselors at school, and we didn't have all this talk about, oh, LGBTQ plus IA, whatever acceptance. But nobody seemed to have a tremendous amount of mental health issues. But now, as I have grown older, there's all I hear about is, oh, mental health. We need more counselors. We need more mental health advocates. We need more mental health concern people and teachers and instructors in the classroom. We need those people because everybody's has so many issues now. And it's like, why do they have issues? So I'm going to say, since the society has veered far to the left as time goes on, perhaps that veering to the left is the cause of a number of these mental health issues. I do not think that that is necessarily an extreme position to maintain. Scott maintains that she lost her job because of a discussion on sexuality, despite the fact the law does not come into effect until July 1st. Was that part of the curriculum? Was that part of the curriculum? Because they said you're fired because you're straying from the curriculum. And it seems like that's probably not in the curriculum. A discussion happened in class, and because of that, now I'm fired. So notice this use here of passive language. A discussion happened in class. It just happened. I mean, I had no control over it. I'm just the teacher. What am I supposed to do? I'm just the teacher. I mean, it just happened. I couldn't stop it, right? This here is a very common thing where people of this ideology and people of this position will be like, oops, oopsies, they just happened. I couldn't do anything about it, when she is in control of the classroom. Those kids aren't going to talk about anything that she doesn't allow. And my guess is that they wouldn't have brought it up if she hadn't have been bringing it up already, because she would set the groundwork for how that class is going to run. If you get in there and the teacher is like R. Lee Ermey from Full Metal Jacket, okay, these discussions will not be happening, because it will be very readily apparent what is allowed and what is not allowed in that classroom. The classroom environment is entirely her fault to set where certain things can happen. And do I think that the kids started these conversations? I do not. I wasn't there, so maybe it happened, but I do not believe it. I do not believe it for a second. Okay. So anyway, then there's this video of her sort of talking about stuff. She told NBC2 News that her students asked about her and Scott, who married her husband Nick in January 2021, said that she described herself as pansexual. So, I don't believe this for a second. Not one hot second. Okay, as I said, those kids wouldn't be asking about her and her husband, and for her then to say, "Oh, I'm pansexual," it's like, sorry, here's the proper answer. None of your stinking business. Now get back to work. Okay. Now, it says, I like anyone, despite male, female, non-binary, transgender. Now, this is very telling. I like anyone despite. Okay. Despite the fact that they are so horrible as to be male or female or non-binary or transgender, whatever. This despite, it's not, I like anyone, male, female, non-binary, transgender. This hints at something else. This hints at a dislike for her fellow man, that she feels that she is in some way apart from them. She is better than them. She is more valuable. She's more important, and that other people are despite. Following the class, she hung the pictures her students had drawn on her classroom board. Let's say her students were compelled to draw on her classroom door, but she said school administrators told her to take them down. Oh, the poor darling, the poor darling. I'm telling you, what a shame. I can't imagine how much her heart was breaking. They said it would be in the best interest if I got rid of them now, she said. I went over to the recycling bin. I grabbed all their flags, and all the kids were staring at me. And I crumbled their flags in front of them, she explained. Now, I'm going to guess this was done in like super hyper dramatic fashion. That this wasn't just like, oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'll get rid of them and I'll put them in the recycle bin. No, this would have been in like ultra melodramatic fashion, trying to get that Oscar, but instead going full retard and making herself look the fool. Plus, this person should be fired. Where is she? This person here are esteemed intellectuals who are teaching the next generation. She should be fired for the fact that she says she crumbled the flags, okay? Because you don't crumble flags. These are not crumbled. These are crumpled with a P. Now, when I first read this article, I'm like, no, no, no. Whoever wrote this article, they wrote that wrong because nobody would say that they crumbled the flags. So I went back and I re-listened to it, and in fact, she does say crumble. So how this person does not know the difference between crumbled and crumpled as a teacher is astonishing to me, right? This is not like feta cheese that she has crumbled away and poured into the recycling bin. No, she has crumpled the flags in front of them. Now, she says this as though it's like, you know, oh, this is so horrible because I had to crumple them up in front of the kids and their poor little hearts were breaking and they all had tears in their eyes because they'd worked so hard on these flags. And I don't know. It says middle school. I don't know what age these kids are. But I'm looking at these flags and I'm like, these aren't high art. Look at this. That's like big deal. That's your freaking 5 minute project. It's not a big loss that these things were tossed into the freaking dumpster. Okay. So there you go. She's crumbled the flags. And again, she crumbled them for dramatic effect. It's not that she just went, took them down off the thing and laid the flat pieces of paper into the recycle bin and said, oh, okay, no problem. Okay. She was sent home, then received a call saying she's being released for a contract. The school district said they've received complaints from parents who are concerned about the conversation and the artwork. Yeah, no crap, right? No surprise there because freaking that kind of conversation shouldn't be taking place. Scott's father, Billy Waddle, said they were taking legal advice and they accused the school board of lying about the reasons for her dismissal. But it looks like in the video they actually showed that they had complaints. It looks like they did receive emails or mail or whatever uh, complaining about her. So my daughter never had open. I don't know why this is all caps. Uh, Obviously, it's because he wrote it that way, but I have no idea why. So, but even still, I'd be almost more worried if she's having like closed door discussions with students about her sexual orientation, because clearly she's talking to them about her sexual orientation. Student, and why does he keep capitalizing like her, right? And she and her. And it's like, what are you talking? What are these capitals for? This is the father of a teacher. So maybe he should go to remedial English to understand the use of capitalizations. She answered it without thinking of how it may be used by her own admission. She never purposely told them her orientation to make them feel anything. She simply answered a question. Why is this a question mark? She never purposely told them her orientation to make them feel anything. I don't get the question there. I don't understand it. So, anyways, this whole thing is here, right? School board is totally lying. This is a double standard. It's like, how freaking stupid is this? Anyway, as a first year teacher having no prior incidents, firing her was an abuse of authority and far too excessive for a first time issue. Well, that seems like a fairly major issue, right? If you're not following curriculum, that's pretty basic. If you don't file your forms properly, if you forgot to mark a bunch of test papers and then schools didn't get their score, I don't know how schools work. Schools didn't get their scores in on time or something. Those seem things like, oh, you have to make sure that you have to have it done by this date and blah, blah, blah. But if you're going off curriculum and discussing sexual matters with students, with minor students, that seems like a fairly major issue. That's like saying, oh, the business hired this person, but nobody ever specifically said you're not allowed to steal money from the till. So when they stole money from the till, I mean, why would they fire that person? They didn't even give them a warning. They didn't let them know. I mean, it's just a one-time issue. Right? You can't make this kind of complaint. I mean, this guy here is off his rocker. Totally lying. They fired an art teacher for answering a question. The correct answer to the question would have been if the situation panned out as they thought. The correct answer would be that's none of your business. Okay, the school cop can walk around discussing her orientation with students and being something I can't see because of this thing. Anyway, so there's a part in here where they talk about where is it? Where is it? School not even, blah blah blah. I can't fire it. Firing her was abuse of authority. She never had open discussions. Still keep their job. Well, if the school cop is walking around discussing their sexual orientation with students, then they should be gone too, because that's not their purview. Okay, here you go. He said the school displayed posters proclaiming that everyone in the school was open, accepted, and safe. This is double standard. Where did this thing about safety come from? When I was a kid, like nobody talked about things being safe, being safe. Oh, we need to be safe. It's like safety is among the bottom of my concerns in life. Okay, so much so that uh, I always rail against stupid rules and regulations and laws that say, "Oh, this isn't safe. You can't do it." Because if we ultimately look at safety as the highest priority, well, then everybody could live in a cage and have just a food disc shoved into you. And then you're going to be like as safe can be. But is that going to be a life worth living? No. So safety can never be the highest priority. So when people say, oh, we want something to be safe, we want something to be safe, I discount what they're saying because their priorities, in my mind, are completely messed up. That's a double standard, he said. Well, who cares? It's not a double standard. Sorry. This is she deserves to be fired. Not the least of which, like I say, is because she doesn't know the meaning of the word crumbled. That is terrible. It's appalling. And discussing her sexuality with kids. I'm sorry. That is what groomers do. Sorry. There you go. I think she should count her lucky stars that she did not get sued for possible sexual indoctrination or sexual grooming of a minor.